processing big sets of data, a lot of the time we don't know why or what we think in the first place, and agree on what's going on. Two people can look at the same situation and come to the exact opposite conclusions based on the same data set, and each other calling the other irrational. And maybe AI, I think, can help with that. And you're truly a pioneer when it comes to using AI with APCO for many years, long before it became the subtext of everything we talk about, as it's been for the last 6 months. I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and what you've done and how you've built these interesting models for decision-making using AI.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. I think one important thing for us agency folks in this room and some of the client side, as important to start a pitch is how you close it. And I hope we close well. You waited so far. So thank you for making the time. I don't think, like to your question, that AI will make better judgments on these big sets of data, given how humans as well are not divided, but they look at the same data sets from different angles and like the angles of how you look at things. And to some extent, Mazen covered it well in his earlier session about data and hallucination and the sources of the data and how you do it and how you train it. So I think AI will have the same deficiencies as the people who are going to train it, and how it's going to be trained, on what it's going to be trained, and what are the guardrails that you're going to put around it so that you have some kind of an initial good assessment and then have the flexibility of using AI to mine bigger volumes of data to make sense out of them. But it comes back to what the questions you're asking, what are you trying to uncover, how you look at it, and then having the critical thinking to look at it after the AI, and then make sense of it based on experiences that you accumulated over years. And I think one of the main challenges, we're going to come to it later on talking about talents, is that today we're lucky in an industry where you had people that were doing some type of work like crisis or reputation and so on and so forth in a more traditional way for a couple of decades. So they established a way of working and thinking and experiences that they went through with blood and sweat and so on and so forth. And then when they look at output coming from AI, they compare with their personal experiences and they make sense of it compared to real life scenarios. Whereas as we move on more with AI being implemented at different layers of the organization, being used at a junior level and giving them some work that previously you need experience to do it, and you need to be trained over time to do it, and making those judgments and making sense if it's good or bad. So these are things that we as an industry, I think, not only us, will have to evaluate later on. So we will still have the different perspective, even from an AI, on how you look at data and you interpret data. A great example was given right now in the session with the ladies. You ask the same question, you will get different results. It's how you frame it, how you look at it, how you guide the AI to look at the challenge or the problem, and then you will get things that might not be comparable with every single person. So these will still happen.
Yeah, I think AI can be used the same way consultants are used to justify whatever you believe in the first place. There's a quote by Woody Allen, I think it is. We all know the same truth. Our only choice is how we distort it. And I think, though, that many times we're not aware of our biases, and we don't see the causalities that we can't see because we can't process enough data. And maybe that can unveil connections that we otherwise can't see. But before going on to that, I'd like for you to maybe share a little bit about the platform APCO has. I find that very fascinating in how you're using many different AI tools in processing data, and maybe if you could give some examples on how this platform is used.
I would be more generic about this. I'm not going to be talking like making company pitch, but what I can say is that what we're trying to do is leverage the experience that we have as individuals in the industry with people that have been around in different streams of what we do for several decades, and try to get that learning into the platforms or the IP that we're building on top of everything that we do. So the promise that we made to ourselves as a company is how we can, as much as possible, leverage and integrate the, I would say, the cumulative experiences of our talents across the globe. So we used to promise that as a global, and we say, Marjorie Krauss used to say, we think global and act like local. So the terminology of combining both global and local. And we wanted to carry this promise as well into the digital world and later on in the AR world. So whatever we're doing it in a way that it will not only complement, in some places complement, some places augment, some places cover for deficiencies that our team cannot bring. And the combination of technology, we're not a tech firm, and so many in this room are not tech firms. We're not going to win the tech race. So the platforms we're doing internally or for our clients are built on the promise of, as much as possible, have a point of view about biases, about ethics and how we're using AI internally and externally and with our clients. And 3, technology is here for the sake, for the service of making us better and our clients better. But the core element of it is our team members. Now, this is being said everywhere, like AI is not going to replace, it's going to replace, it's going to make your job better. We are conscious, like in so many transformational changes, and we have to be realistic with ourselves and to be truthful to everyone. AI, and these are hard things, and people try to dance around it, will make some jobs, obsolete. It's a fact. It's going to happen, and we cannot tiptoe around that. It's going to make other jobs much better, and it's going to create so many jobs, even in our industry.
But is it going to make PR better? I mean, there's been so many technological advancements just in the last 10, 15 years, and when it comes to PR, generally when I think about PR, I just think about bland press releases I don't read. Even before ChatGPT, the press releases are irrelevant to me. They're clogging up my email and getting through to me. I mean, you pretty much need a personal relationship like the previous speaker was talking about. PR is about relationships between people and communication. That's probably the most complicated thing in the world and the thing that cannot be automated. And which AI, I mean, it is rote learning of automated responses of previous information. I want to hear from you, like you're saying, you improve jobs, make jobs easier, but is it going to improve what PR, the product of PR, or is it just going to, make more of what PR has become in the last decade?
I think it's not about AI if AI is going to change PR, because that question has, and that situation has been around for the past, as you said, decade or more. So I think not AI is going to have an impact how PR is being perceived or how it's being done, because the whole industry completely changed in the past 20 years. So many examples has been presented on stage, and Mazen mentioned a couple of examples like 20 years back and how we look about these stuff. So today, AI may be a contributing factor in advancing some of that change. But if you do a short survey in this room from the different agencies, I think you will not find an agency that define what they do as PR in the first place.
Yeah.
I know we don't. PR is a byproduct of everything that this group is doing. And there has been examples today talking about how you're combining so many things in one place, from PR to creative, to communication, to marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And what AI is doing is enabling agencies and client side and other peers in our industry, like the advertising space, to be much more integrated and to do things across multiple dimensions. And it's not only PR. Talking PR, like there's very simple examples. Like in our agency, we had a big influx, and I think other agencies as well, post the 2008 financial crisis, when the publishing industry was disrupted as one of the aftermath of the problem, of the crisis. And so many journalists and people working in publishing migrated to the PR world back then, right? Moving from journalists to be content writers, to be advisors to CEOs. They have experience in media relation and public appearing, public speaking, media, etc., etc. And then you find these individuals as they adapted to a new ecosystem. Now AI is coming and shaping and restructuring and disrupting what they do, which is content. And the bigger question for them is, say, what's next for us? Because we went through a transformation from one industry to another to grow and safeguard our, some to safeguard their livelihood and the others to grow as an individual. And now it's being completely disrupted by AI. And I think the questions we need to ask about ourselves as agencies is, yes, focusing on the technology and what's happening, but it's more about fundamental questions about the talents that we need, how we're going to have pathways for some of our team members to grow in a place that's being disrupted, and to be genuine about, with ourselves as well, what kind of new set of talents we require to be able to compete and grow. Because the competition today is not only from our peers. Competition is coming from big consulting groups that are coming into our space, acquiring, in the couple of years back, digital companies, creative companies, startups, and so on and so forth, and they're coming from, let's say, a comprehensive point of view about what they do. So they can have a complete turnkey solution for their clients, and sometimes they contract us for some communication and PR work. But with AI today, they can have a full spectrum of things that they can do. I think the space is not only the PR thing, it's much bigger. And AI is an opportunity for not only us, for them as well, to expand their offering and expand their turf. And we see ourselves in pitches against this kind of companies more than PR companies these days.
So in the earlier panel, we were talking about influencers, and authenticity keeps coming back. And I think authenticity, what it boils down to, is a genuine curiosity and passion and connection, really, which is very hard to learn unless you have it. I think AI will have a hard time replicating that, which is what PR is about, connecting. But on that point, where do you see AI playing a role in content creation and coming up with original content? I was just thinking about that, like when you work on coming up with a snappy headline, something I'm not good at. AI is a lot more original than I am. I think a lot of people, they get stuck in their own, in their old thinking, their go-to phrases. So in a way, AI is a great tool for enhancing originality, I think. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes and no, because I'll give you another example which has been started to show as a side effect. For those who are on the, what do you call it, these drugs, the Ozempic family drugs. So you see now, developing bowel laziness and issues that some, of the vital functions are not operating because they're taking the easy way out. I'm not saying people are, but the body is thinking this way. And there is a big risk coming to us as much as these tools and platform becomes better in creating content, that's going to create some kind of cognitive offload. And you get, especially at the entry level, and you'll find people relying on what's going to come out of it without applying the critical thinking, where it should be the other way around. It should be a starting point, and then you can apply the experiences and the knowledge of the market and the client and so on and so forth to make that piece of content even better and better and to be much more original. Mazen showed on the screen things that AI cannot do. And he mentioned about creating the nuances with languages and understanding that, whether it be from content perspective or from monitoring perspective, or not able to create or to do so many other things. I tend to disagree with all of these points for a reason, not because AI will not be able to do it. AI will be able to do it. Now the question would be, to what degree? So all of these, if you tick all the boxes, AI can do it today. Can do it maybe in some of these points at 30%, at 40%, or 50%. But what's happening is that if you look last year from the folks leading OpenAI, like Altman and others, they were talking about superintelligence or AI general, artificial general intelligence, which is super AI that can resonate, that can recreate itself and make judgments and so on and so forth. And the forecast was that this would be somewhere in the next decade, or in 2030, 2035, or less or more. And now the talks has been all around that we can reach, or that milestone can be reached in the next year or two. So what have been, people are thinking and looking at AI and what can do, and the points that AI cannot do. It's a matter of time. It's not gonna be if, so it's gonna be, it is happening. To what degree and how much are we ready to cope with it, but it will be a certain degree of maturity. If we look at things that are more human related, emotional intelligence. I'll give you an example which is very basic. There's a whole science behind reading facial expressions. That's used from intelligence agencies all the way to body language training and media training. And there's a science, it's proven, Paul Ekman and others worked on this. It's completely scientific. And a couple of weeks back, we were on a demo with the provider of media training assessment. Like we'd have journalists working with us or experts in our field. We do media training for CEOs, ministers, etc. And we assess their performance, their body language, tone of voice, terminology that they're using, how it showed up on camera, and so on and so forth. And that AI platform pretty much does the majority of that. So it take videos of the individual, you would feed the platform, the messaging that the company is supposed to deliver or the person has supposed to deliver based on the briefing document and what the company stands for. And then a full analysis is done about the way the delivery has happened and so on and so forth, the messages, how much of the messages has been delivered, how they were delivered, and so on and so forth. And today, when we do that, we have veterans in that space doing that kind of assessment so you can assess progress when you're coaching a senior person to be on stage or on TV and so on and so forth. And the AI is doing, I would say when I looked at the results, and I do this kind of work, it's 70% there. The assessment part, all of it is being done by a tool where you can look at it and make additional judgment on top of it. So for me today, it's a question of when and how far it's going to go, not if it's going to happen. And us as an industry, I think we need to be much more flexible in our thinking. I always give this example. So many people feel that AI is their enemy. So many others in this room mentioned today is their friend. But the famous saying, keep your friend close and keep your enemies closer. So if you consider AI as your enemy, you better get on it today and get it much more closer with you as part of your thinking and how you behave, not only from a technical point of view, but from a managerial leadership point of view and how you're going to think about what's coming next and how we're going to navigate this. And if it's friend, great, keep it next to you and grow with that friend. But either way, you have to keep it close to you.
Good point. Should we take a couple of questions? Are there any? I just want to comment, though. I think, like with any industry in PR, it's no different. It's about positioning rather than the content or the inherent worth of what you're selling. An obvious example would be gold or diamonds. Diamonds are already plentiful. There's so many. If you would have a transparent market, they would be worth nothing. If there would be gold from an asteroid landing on Earth where gold was plentiful, like AI, you could churn out so much gold that anyone could have any amount of it. It would no longer have any value in and of itself. But a Tiffany's diamond is still worth a lot of money, not because of its inherent value, but because of its positioning and its perception. And therefore, I'm not worried about AI in terms of PR, because I don't think that is really what is being bought. It is the access and the influence that can be created, which is the big X factor as to who gets listened to and who doesn't.
Scarcity is a very important point, as you said. But I think there's a bigger element here about the AI. So today we're having a discussion about AI. A couple of years from now, we're not going to be talking AI in our life and our business. It's going to be the next norm, and this is the way we do business. But that scarcity, maybe today, it's comes with a cost. But with the misconception that's coming as well from the client side, and even agencies as worry about, that clients will start asking for cheaper rates when it comes to things that were put on screen, from content production and so on and so forth. But the thing is that agencies and clients who are investing in this technology today, they know it's super expensive. It's not only about payroll and having employees who are writing content. If you're going to have platforms, whether it be you do your own LLMs or you are using off the shelf or market available and so on and so forth, if you're going to work with a place that provides you with the transparency, with the privacy, with the bias guardrails and so on and so forth, it is expensive. It's going to become more expensive. Data is the next oil. And it's going to be very expensive for agencies to run these models and operate them so that they can deliver to clients. Maybe on some of the services, it's cheaper to produce something, but it's going to take equal more time to have the right technology available and trained for you, and people to be onboarded and trained for that. It's not going to be a cheaper thing. You have success stories when Facebook started, where people opened business on Facebook, and they made women having cookie shops and men doing startups and barbecues and so on and so forth. And everyone was happy because of social media and how it's making new case studies and people achieving self-sufficient revenue just for social media. It was free, almost free, and the accessibility was great. Today, try doing something on Meta platforms. As a small company, small business, you want to promote it. It costs an arm and a leg. Because they're not pro bono or NGOs. They want to make money. And coming next, as it was presented today, access to this data that's today for some on personal level is free to somehow, it's going to be expensive. We're going to be in a place where as a company or individual will have to pay either a freemium or a premium to get access to it. And it's not going to be a saving element. You're going to save from one side, but a big investment is going to be in other places, and that's evolution in every transformation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, sorry, we got one here from the big boss.
If you don't mind.
Please.
Imad, going back to your point about, you said in around 2008, a lot of people moved from the media to PR, etc. And then later they became a bit worried about losing their craft to AI. So to that point, AI, I guess it's based on what it's taught. So
sorry, based on what?
On what it's taught, on what it learns, right?
Yes.
So that naturally then makes creativity impossible. So do you think that creativity can be replaced by AI?
I don't think anything can be replaced by AI, but certain things will be replaced by AI so that our human brain is evolving to do other things that AI is not keeping up with. We're reaching to a stage, yes, right now, you're a stage where you have to learn and teach models to do stuff. As I said about superintelligence, is going to be in a stage very soon where it teaches itself to do stuff and grow with that. And this is governments everywhere are agreeing we should put guardrails against that, and companies, but none is doing. And weapon systems, you can see that this is a place where this is an actual illustration of how it can be done and how advanced it is. But human evolution is not, every evolution, every transformation that happened, humans proved to be much more creative in creating the next wave. So I think, I don't read into the future, but I think that no matter what it's going to come as things that AI can do, people will find place for them to come on top of it and build on it. If you're a creative director at an agency and you have the ability to have the right brief and the right prompt for a mid-journey kind of platforms to give you, based on your creative brief, some initial creative elements that come to you where your team, or historically, that would take 1 week to do it. Theoretically, that should give you the mental space to look at it and even like do something even bigger, because you have so much time on your hand to get more creative and crazy with things that can deliver to you. So you can look at it this way, or you can look the other way and say, oh, why do I need a creative director? I know what I need. I'm marketing head. I can have someone with good prompt engineering doing some prompts for me and get me whatever I want. So you can use the same thing 2 different ways. Either you want to augment it and grow it, and then providing people. It's like race car drivers. You give them better technology and cars, they perform, but there's still the hardcore driver instinct that makes a winner from the other driver. They might have the same technology, but you have the driver that's making the difference. So different ways to look at it, but it will be a challenging and interesting decade to come, I would say.
Great analogy. Thank you.
Do we have time for one more question? Or?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.